Today's video is brought to you by creativesdothis.com.
Anything that's donated now goes to her children. And I just want to say thank you.
Alana had been in a relationship with you for about 4 months. She had recently discovered she was pregnant.
Yeah! Yeah! That's me! You see my face?
It was just after midnight and most of the building was asleep. There was the kind of silence you only get in a London block when everyone has finally given up on the day. And then, through that silence, came voices. A man, a woman, and at first it just sounded like an argument. Annoying maybe, but not unusual. Apartments this close together, people hear everything. Music, TVs, breakups and makeups. But this time, the words felt different. The man's voice was sharp, coming in bursts. The woman's voice sounded thinner, more distant and defeated. One neighbour pressed mute on their own TV. They leant in closer to the wall, and now they could hear it more clearly. The man, amongst other things, was shouting the word pregnant. Then a pause, then the same word again, but louder. On the other side of the wall, the woman's voice now broke through. She said, "I don't want to." The neighbour froze up. This wasn't a normal late-night argument anymore. This sounded like the kind of conversation where something had already gone very wrong. Another neighbour stepped into the hallway, and they noticed the sound was coming from one particular flat. Obviously they couldn't see anything, but they could hear a lot. Muffled thuds, raised voices, and then one of the most horrific things you can hear at a time like this: silence. The kind of moment where you can suddenly hear your own breathing. Someone in the hallway pulled out their phone, but it wasn't to call anyone, at least not yet. Instead, they hit record just in case. Because in that moment, they had a feeling that whatever was happening behind that door wasn't simply going to end with an apology and then getting back together. A few minutes later, a couple of neighbours would finally step forward. They walked up to the intercom and pressed the button. When the woman in the flat answered, her voice sounded strange compared to how she normally sounded. It sounded tight and flat. They asked if she was okay. There was a pause. Then she said 2 words that would later haunt them. "I'm fine." And with that, the conversation ended. The neighbours hesitated to act. Nobody kicked in the door, nobody even called the police. Because on the surface, it was still just an argument. It was none of their business, just another couple that would probably be back together by the morning. But behind that door, something had already been set in motion, something that you can't walk back from. And hours later, when the truth finally came out, everyone who'd heard those voices in the hallway would replay that moment over and over. The noises, the haunting word, pregnant, shouts about a baby. They would all be left asking themselves the same question: exactly what had been happening inside that flat while they were standing just a few feet away. By the way, this is Dark Case, and you can call me Jack. I bring you rare and unseen true crime cases, as well as other things that you may later regret knowing, with multiple uploads every single week. So if all of that sounds like your kind of thing, then make sure you join the Dark Case family now by hitting subscribe and turning all notifications on. For any sneeze fans out there, sorry, but I just can't muster one today. Maybe I can clear my throat. There we go. And now for today's silly little question. What's your favourite movie of all time? Mine is probably Stand By Me. It was the first time I felt like a movie really spoke to me. But let me know yours down in the comments. All of your support over on Patreon, as well as via channel memberships right here on YouTube, are so appreciated. And I really can't thank you all enough. However, of course, thank you. But now, on with the video. 4 months before anyone heard those voices in the hallway, Alana Odysseos was trying to rebuild her life. She was 40. She was soft-spoken, the kind of person who tried to hold everyone else together, even when her own world was falling apart. She had already lived through losses that most people just don't come back from. She had lost 2 partners, both fathers of her children. 2 devastating griefs, stacked on top of each other, and she was forced to bear that weight daily. Friends said that she carried it quietly though. She didn't talk much about what she'd been through. She didn't want pity. She just wanted something simple, a home, a routine, and a safe place for her little girl. By early 2024, she was raising her 2-year-old daughter largely on her own. And even though life wasn't perfect, she was really trying. People close to her said she was the kind of mother who kept every drawing, every little toy, every memory that her daughter touched. Her dream was small, but it was everything to her. A kitchen table big enough for breakfast together, a family feeling once again, a second chance at something steady. So when she met someone new, she wanted to believe that it could work. She wanted to believe that this man could be a partner, a father figure, a fresh start. And for a moment, just a moment, that is how it looked. This video is sponsored by Creatives Do This, a platform that I've helped to launch that features real interviews with real artists, candle makers, musicians, and creatives of all kinds who are making it work. Right now, we're looking for creatives to feature. So if you've made money from your creativity, whether it's a full-time career or a new side hustle, and you want to share how you did it, we'd love to hear your story. It's just a short text-based interview and it takes around 10 minutes. And in return, you get free lifetime access to everything that the platform becomes. Plus, your work will get featured to inspire others and to build your brand. Hit the link in the description or the pinned comment to take the quick interview and to become one of the 100 founding members. There's now less than 50 spaces left. www.creativesdothis.com. The new man was attentive. He checked in on her. He said that he cared about her daughter. He talked about their future together, like it was something that he could actually give her. After everything that she'd survived, this felt like genuine warmth. It felt like someone was finally seeing her. But nobody knew, not yet, that inside those early conversations were the first tiny cracks. The ones that people miss because they look so much like affection at the start. A text message that seemed sweet but came at a strange time. A question that sounded caring but was pushed for too long. A comment about who she talked to. A question about where she'd been. Little things, perhaps little forgettable things. The kinds of things that people can explain away when they really want a relationship to work. And Alana really wanted this one to be the one. By summer, the 2 of them were officially together. They were about 4 months in. And that's when Alana discovered that she was pregnant. For her, this wasn't a fear. This was hope. Maybe this was a family that she'd been trying to rebuild. But with that hope came a shift. A subtle build-in pressure in the air any time he came around. Alana's friends noticed it first. A tired sound in her voice, a hesitation when I asked how things were going. She waved it off, said everything was fine. But those same friends would later remember one moment, one sentence that she said under her breath, in the kind of tone you use when you finally admit something that you wish wasn't true. He's acting different. But at that stage, they didn't know exactly what she meant. They didn't know that this new relationship, the one that she'd hoped would give her a new beginning, was already shifting into something else, something darker, something hidden behind closed doors. And the rules of that new reality were about to reveal themselves one by one. This new man laid down some ground rules. The first rule was that he wanted her to answer his calls, and I mean all of them, day or night. And at first this could have sounded like just concern. He said he just wanted to hear her voice, that he worried when she didn't pick up. But those calls got more frequent, then constant, then demanding. If she missed one, even by a second, there were questions. Where was she? Who was she with? Why didn't she pick up? Soon it wasn't just enough for her to answer. She had to answer on video. She had to show her surroundings. It was her job to prove that she was alone, to prove that she wasn't hiding anything. Friends later said that now they knew that something was wrong. But Alana didn't see it yet. She had been through so much loss that she perhaps convinced herself this was about love, about someone caring too much, not too little. The second rule came next. She told a friend that he didn't like her talking to people, and I mean anyone at all. Male friends were deleted from her phone first, then acquaintances, then any contacts that he didn't realise. He told her that it made him uncomfortable. He told her that he didn't want other men sniffing round. He said it like it was a bit of a joke, but it didn't feel like one. And then came the arguments. Little disagreements would erupt. Nothing physical at first, just a mounting pressure on Alana, raised volumes as things got heated, and accusations that really made no sense. Her sister noticed it, the tension in Alana's messages, the way that she'd type, pause, delete sentences, before then sending something short and safe. Her sister tried to pull her back. She told her that she deserved better, told her that love wasn't supposed to feel like this. But Alana kept on defending him. She said that he was stressed, said he'd been through things, said that he promised that he'd change. And 4 months in, she still believed him, still hoped that he could become the man that she thought he was back at the beginning. But then came the incident with the toys, Alana's daughter's toys. They were thrown out or destroyed in an argument. Tiny plastic reminders of her child's world were shattered, all because he was angry, all because he was unhappy. Alana did tell a few people about this, quietly though, almost whispering, as if speaking it too loudly would make it more real. And that's when fear finally slipped into her voice. Once, just once, she confided to someone that she trusted, "I'm scared of him." But fear can be complicated. It doesn't always push people away. Sometimes it makes them hold on tighter, hoping that the storm will pass, and that the person they fell for will just come back. Despite every warning sign and every whispered concern, every moment that just didn't feel right, Alana stayed. She wanted her family. She wanted that stability. She wanted a love to finally last. But the rules that she never agreed to were now stacking up around her. They were closing her in. They were quietly preparing the path to that night in the hallway when neighbours heard words that they would never forget. By late July, the tension in Alana's flat, it could no longer be ignored. Friends said her messages had changed. They were shorter and flatter in tone. He was acting up, she wrote, but she didn't explain exactly what that meant. Her sister, everyone told her, "You deserve so much better." But Alana would respond, "Can't help who you love, but he don't love any of us." Nobody really knew what to do with that reply. No one knew just how close to the breaking point things had gotten. Then came the night that everything collided. It was supposed to be something simple. He came over to help her move some furniture. Nothing dramatic, nothing unusual. But in controlling relationships, it's often not the big things that ignite the worst moments. It can be the smallest spark, a misplaced comment, a look, or in this case, a pair of trainers. The couple argued over them, the kind of disagreement that most people would laugh off when they realised it was all just dumb. But in that flat, on that night, it grew into something much bigger, something much sharper, something that even the neighbours couldn't ignore. Sometime after midnight, the building started to wake. Through the walls came the sound of a man shouting, the same word repeated like a hammer, "Pregnant, pregnant." Then her voice, thin, desperate, barely breaking into the hallway, "I don't want to kill my baby." Those words made one neighbour sit up, made another step into the corridor, made someone else pick up their phone. They didn't know exactly what was happening in that apartment, but they knew that this was not normal. Not anymore. Voices rose, objects hit walls. Something slammed hard enough to shake a picture frame next door, and then came that horrifying silence. A couple living down the hall looked at each other. One said, "We should check." The other nodded. They approached the intercom outside the flat and pressed the button. A long pause, then finally her voice. Except it didn't sound like Alana, not the version of her they'd heard laughing in the stairwell, not the gentle mother they'd seen carrying a toddler on her hip. This voice sounded hollow, automatic, a performance of calm. She said, "I'm fine." 2 words, no details, no real reassurance. And then the line went dead. The neighbours stepped back, they looked at each other and waited. But no one really made a move, nobody knocked again. Because, in reality, people are taught to stay out of other people's private arguments. They're taught not to assume the worst. They're taught to hope that by morning, everything will be normal again. What they didn't know though was that inside that flat, during those final minutes of silence, something irreversible had unfolded. Something that would soon spill out of the front door, in a way that no one could have imagined. And by the time that truth finally came out, the hallway, the voices, the argument about trainers, none of it would make sense without one chilling detail that was just waiting behind that locked door. Early the next morning, 3 a.m., July the 22nd, just as the sun was thinking about rising, it would illuminate the true horrors of what had happened. It sounded to the neighbours that the argument had ended the night before, that everything had simmered down, and it would just blow over. But police officers would later find a red handprint just outside Elena's front door. It was her handprint, and it was in her own vital fluids. She had tried to escape, to survive. She had desperately pulled herself out of her home, and she had made it outside. But what was discovered on that morning would deal a devastating blow. Members of the public found Alana laying on the floor. She was clutching her right-hand side. She was covered in red, and so was her partner, Shaine. However, he was not injured. As she lay there, she shouted, "Shaine stabbed me. He stabbed me. He stabbed me. Help, help." Shaine was still there at the scene. However, as the members of the public called 999 for help, he took this opportunity to flee. Meanwhile, on the cold hard floor, Alana, 1 month pregnant, her time on this earth drew to a close as paramedics tried to save her. She had wounds to her chest, stomach, pelvis, shoulders, buttocks, right arm, thighs and lower legs. The coroner said that each one alone would have been enough to do the irreversible, but there were nearly 20 sharp impacts in total. It was like he had tried to remove the baby himself. As Shaine walked away, he sent his mother a voice note. In fact, he sent her this very voice note.
"I just killed someone and I need to go back to jail. Mom, I just killed a woman and I'm going back to jail."
He then threw his phone in a drain, later recovered by police. And then at 4:41 a.m, he strolled up to the Cream's Cafe in Walthamstow, and the staff noticed him immediately. They didn't notice him because they recognised him, instead because he was covered, his clothes stained and his hands marked. He had a strange distant look on his face, his mannerisms making them feel uneasy. And then the man said something that no one in that shop was prepared to hear. He told them he'd killed his wife and child. The room fell silent. One person stepped back. Another reached for their phone. The staff called 999 and the man didn't stop them. He didn't try to leave. And when armed officers arrived, he just laughed. Actually laughed. He told them, "I killed her." Then he added, "Send me to jail where I belong." He called himself a sickhead. He called himself scum, and as they took him away, he just kept on talking. On the drive to the station, which I will show you in just a moment, his thoughts seemed to twist in every direction. He said that he hoped she wasn't gone, that he hoped that the baby was still alive. But then, in the same breath, he reminded officers that he told her to get rid of the pregnancy, and his words were just spilling out like he wasn't even sure which version of himself he was supposed to be.
Yeah! I don't regret nothing. Yeah? Give me the death chamber. Yeah? That's what I want. A lethal injection and put me out of my misery. Yeah? And let me just drop this job. Either way, it doesn't bother me. I'm devil's picnic. Yeah? There's a place for me now in hell. Thank you. Thank you to the kind officers. Thank you. We call this yeah?
Everything's cool, recorded in the van, sir.
I don't ever want to come up. Keep me in there. Keep me in Joe. Anyway, I want my grave in a Joe. Yeah? Yeah! That's me. You see my face? Yeah! Yeah! I'm a demon. Yeah! Yeah!
At one point, he gave himself a new name entirely, Shaine Michael Evil March, and he urged officers to broadcast that to the world, exactly what he'd done. But all Shaine was saying was words, and we'd have to wait until the courtroom, when he finally spoke through his lawyers, to hear the story that the people overhearing in the hallway had no idea was happening behind that door. Because this case, it still held two massive twists.
Hi everyone. I don't usually do this, but I'm sure some of you will have seen the Walthamstow London news. My sister was the woman that was fatally to death last night. Sorry, this is hard for me. My sister's name was Alana Yates. Her married name was Alana Odysseos. She was a mother. She had two beautiful girls, Lexi and Victoria. We, the family, are so saddened by the news. I just want any people to come forward. We already have the person in police custody, but if anybody knows anything or might have witnessed anything that could help us put this man in jail for the rest of his life and get justice for Alana Yates, please let me know. Thank you for listening. Hey guys. Gosh, it's been a hot day, hasn't it? I know I look like you don't have to tell me. I just wanted to say again, thank you to everybody who's shared, donated and who supported us in our fight to bring Alana home. The funeral's going to be on the 29th of August and I just want to say thank you again, because without you guys we wouldn't have been able to do this, and poor Alana's wishes wouldn't have been able to have been met if it wasn't for you. Now, obviously, I really want to talk about the case and everything that actually really happened to Alana, but unfortunately, while we're waiting for the trial to take place in May next year, I am on a bit of a hold with the police, so I can't really speak out yet. But I just want you to keep following, because next year I will, and I will make sure that he gets the... I'll make sure he gets what he deserves. Love you all. Hey everyone. As you know, today I was going to the funeral directors to discuss everything that we were planning for Alana's funeral. We've hit a bit of an issue, so I got quoted a lot less than what they told us today. So now we're going to have to fork out just to get her also buried in Newmarket on top of all the other things for the funeral, and it's going to come to about £9,000. Now, obviously, thank you so much to all of you that have donated, shared, done everything you can so far. I mean, at the minute we're sitting on 4,159. Obviously, we are trying to band together and sell our own things so that we can try and build up the rest of the funds. But I'm just asking if there's still anybody out there who can help. You know, we would be so grateful. We really would. Lots of love to you all. Speak to you soon. I just want to say thank you to everyone who has donated and who has shared and who has followed my sister's story. And we managed... Oh, sorry. After my BBC interview today, we've managed to raise £6,400 something pounds. And we needed £6,116. Thank you. Anything that's donated now goes to her children. And I just want to say thank you. To all of you, I love you so much, all of you. Because we can finally bury her near our nanny. And we've brought her home. I went to see her yesterday in the Chapel of Rest. It was so traumatic because it's been 2 weeks since she's passed, but I needed to see her, guys. I needed to say goodbye. And with the help, your help, we wouldn't have been able to do it. We wouldn't have been able to bring her home. And I love you so much. The whole family does. Thank you. Hey guys, I know I've been a bit MIA lately, but I've just been struggling with everything up in my head since everything with Alana. We've got the funeral on Thursday at 12 p.m. in Newmarket. I just wanted to say thank you again, everybody that made this possible so that we could bring Alana home. Sorry I haven't been as chatty and that to everybody lately. Just not in a good place right now. Hey everyone, so today's the day. It's Alana's funeral. I just wanted to say thank you one last time for all the help you've given us, for helping us raise the money so that we could make today possible and say goodbye to our beloved Alana. Thanks, guys. Love ya.
When the trial finally opened, the weight bearing down on the room was crushing. People now realised what Alana had lived through long before that final night. Prosecution didn't start with the crime, they started with her, who she was, what she'd endured, and what she'd been so desperately trying to build. They described a woman who had lost 2 partners, who was raising a 2-year-old child, and who wanted, more than anything, a safe and loving home. They described how she fell for him, how fast it all moved, how she believed in his promises, and then they walked the court through the truth, the control, the constant video calls, the forced deletions, the fear that she confided to friends, the smashed glass, and the threats sent in voice notes that Shaine never thought for a second would be played back in a courtroom. Piece by piece, the world that she lived in came into focus. A world where she tried to love someone who treated that love like possession. You see, what had actually happened here was truly tragic. Alana was pregnant with Shaine's child, but he did not want to be a father. He pushed Alana to get an abortion, but she wanted the baby, the family, the dream. But his wants and his control would not allow that. The prosecutor paused. They let the words settle in, and then they said the words that caused several people in the jury box to shift in their seats. She was vulnerable, and all she wanted was to be loved. As for him, when it was his turn, he didn't deny being responsible, at least not fully. Something else came to light too. Something that not everyone knew. This new information would form an even more disturbing backdrop to the case, because what happened to Alana, it seemed like an echo from Shaine's disturbing past. You see, through all of this, Shaine was already a convicted murderer. Yes, already at the time that he met Alana. Shaine March had previously been convicted of the murder of Andre Drummond. Shaine was 21 at the time and Andre was 17. He jabbed Andre through the neck, and he was then sentenced to life imprisonment in July of 2000. But of course, life does not mean life in the UK. And so after years in custody, he was then released on licence in early 2013. But to make things even worse, and I mean to make things unbelievably worse, what happened to Alana was really history repeating itself, because Shaine was recalled later on the year of his release, following a DV attack on a pregnant partner. He was then jailed once again, but released once again in February of 2018. So his history of extreme violence, including the attack on a pregnant partner, it really makes you wonder just how this could even happen.
Hey everyone, It's a bit frustrating. Obviously, we were all expecting for his plea hearing to be today, but we've just had the phone call to say that it's been delayed until Friday. Hopefully Friday we will know more. Hey guys, I'm really, really frustrated now. We were waiting all day. He was meant to be in court at 2:45, and apparently the people who they employ to pick them up from the prison didn't pick him up. So now we've got to wait until November, the 18th of November, just to find out if he's going to plead guilty or not guilty. This is getting really ridiculous now. Like, it's just dragging it out unnecessarily, causing us even more pain. We just want to know, and we just want justice for Alana. Hey guys, I just wanted to give you all an update and let you know that the plea hearing is tomorrow. My anxiety's through the roof. Obviously, I know he's probably going to plead not guilty, but I just hope this is going to be the first step to getting justice for Alana. Sorry I haven't been on much recently. My mental health has just been so bad. I'll just keep you updated as and when I hear. Hey everyone. Again, I can't really say much like other times, but we finally got a plea yesterday. It wasn't the plea that we wanted. We were hoping it would be a guilty plea, but unfortunately he pled not guilty. So now we will be going to trial, and it will be on the 6th of October. Hopefully no more delays and stuff like what we've had so far, but we're going to have our day in court.
Now in court for Alana's demise, Shaine denied the intent behind what he did. He refused the word murder. Instead, on the first day of his trial, he entered a plea of manslaughter by diminished responsibility. This was a legal pivot and narrowing of accountability, a final attempt to shift the narrative of what had happened. He did admit to causing her death. He admitted that he'd done the unthinkable, but he claimed that he hadn't meant to end her life. But the twists just keep on coming. Shaine March then made a decision that shocked everyone involved. After pleading not guilty to murder and opting for manslaughter, he now pleaded guilty to murder. And in a move that doesn't sound possible, for the second time in his life, the judge sentenced him to life in prison. This time they set a minimum term of 42 years, before eligibility for any release. But honestly, who knows anymore?
Hi everyone. I wasn't planning on coming on here, to be honest, today, because I'm still trying to just overcome everything from what we've heard at the trial and then sentencing yesterday. But it's come to my attention that people are still victim blaming my sister after hearing everything about what a monster Shaine March is. So I want to put it out there and I want to set the record straight. My sister was lied to. She was gaslighted, manipulated. If Alana knew that he had gone and willingly murdered somebody, she would never have been with him. Alana was lied to. Alana was told that he was being mugged, that somebody jumped him with a knife, and that he accidentally stabbed them because he was trying to wrestle the knife away. Now, how would you feel, all you internet trolls, how would you feel if that was your daughter, your sister, your mother? And you have to sit there and read such vile, horrible comments. My sister was a good mother. She was an amazing sister to me, Lorraine and Tara, and she was an amazing daughter. Now, I'd really like for people to reflect, because victim blaming is wrong, and you're just as bad as him in my eyes. Hey guys, I got a bit of nice news today, which has made me feel a little bit better about everything that's been going on at the moment. So I got contacted today by a worker at Walthamstow Council, and they've decided they're going to do a memorial garden in memory of Alana, and we're all going to get involved, and hopefully including the neighbours, Alana's friends and the children that lived there, that she was close to. And we're going to make, obviously, the space outside her home where she died into a really nice sort of like memorial garden. We're going to do like flowers, maybe even get a little bench. And because Alana loved robins, we're going to get a plant that especially attracts robins, so that it's like a piece of Alana will always be there. I just wanted to share that with you because I just thought, out of all this horribleness and everything with the delays, the plea hearing, that's just something that's a little bit nicer, something to focus on at the moment, and hopefully that'll be going ahead next month. Hope you're all doing well. Speak soon.
Alana's sister has been pivotal in setting up a community garden in her sister's memory, and so in some small way Alana lives on, and hopefully that garden will provide a peace that Alana couldn't find in life.
Hey guys, I know I've been quiet recently since we found out, when the next trial was going to be, but I just wanted to come on really quickly and just ask once again for your help. I've made a petition online. It's on change.org, and it's where I'm trying to create an Alana's Law, and it's going to list a whole different range of topics that really need to be implemented by the government, and to make things better and raise awareness, especially for our children, so that they can spot signs early for when they start going into relationships. So I'm just hoping that you guys can help and sign, share it. I just really want to get this in front of Parliament. I do not want anything like this to happen again. It's just not fair. She should still be here. She would have had her baby by now. So I'm stuttering now. We just need to make change. Thank you for helping.
Be careful out there, and I'll see you soon.